2022 at 7:01 p.m. Eastern Standard Time under the applicable statutes of New York State. And everyone mute yourself, please. Thank you. Under the applicable statutes of New York State, the Charter of New York City, the board's bylaws, and Robert's Rules of Order. The board's policy is to encourage detailed public discussion of matters before the board at our committee meetings and at a public hearing. Consequently, except by board members, there will be no public discussion at our regular monthly meetings of matters about which a public hearing or committee meeting has been held. Specific service delivery requests or complaints should be brought to the attention of the board office staff by calling the board office during regular business hours or by visiting our website anytime. Other matters of civic interest may be brought before the board during our scheduled public comment period, which will begin tonight after all other business on the board's monthly meeting agenda has been concluded. No partisan political appeals or advertising of for-profit enterprises will be heard. Persons wishing to speak during the public comment period were asked to pre-register. I just want to see, there's a few people. I have a call-in number with the last two digits 82. If you can hit *6 to mute yourself, please. Abe, if you can mute yourself. Let's see what else. Ed Powell, please mute yourself. Thanks. That's about it. Tonight, we're going to be doing attendance from the participant list. Moving on to the minutes, were there any comments emailed to the board office regarding changes to the minutes?
No, none.
Thank you. Were there any changes from board members from the floor about the minutes? Seeing none, we'll do reverse order in order to ratify the minutes. Is there anyone in here who wishes to not approve these minutes from the March 2022 meeting? Is there anyone that wishes to abstain? Is there anyone ineligible to vote? The minutes of the March 2022 meeting have been approved. Moving on to the district manager's report.
Hi, good evening, everybody, and happy holidays to those already observing Ramadan. May you have an easy fast as you observe the Ramadan month. And happy Easter week to those observing Easter, and to those preparing for Passover. In advance, happy Pesach. Just know too, there will be additional collection from DSNY for the Passover holiday. Please make sure your chametz is on the curb by 11 o'clock on Friday. And for, I'll put it in the chat in a minute, but for those of you who want to see where the extra collection is happening in the district, there is a map on our website for that. Of course, any questions you have, please give us a call in the office during regular business hours, or send us an email anytime. We want to thank Commissioner Grayson for approving the special collection plan, and for BK14 for implementing it. They do a great job every year. We had a fruitful district service cabinet meeting on April 6th. I was very pleased that Deputy Inspector Bruce Separano, who I think will be saying hello to us this evening in a little while, joined us. I think it was even a day before his actual starting date, but was able to join us and hung in there for the entirety of the meeting. We were also joined by Superintendent Robert McKenna, who's been the substitute super at BK14 and has been doing a great job over there at a very sort of challenging time of the year.
Doing better
that
now.
meeting was actually preceded by a meeting with the Future of Community Boards groups, which I've talked to you about a few times before. We met with OMB to talk about some personnel rules that they have imposed on community boards district-wide, trying to work through some of that, and talked about our budget consultations and their role with that, and working together to try to bring together agencies into a sort of more fruitful conversation than we've had the past handful of years. And so I'm optimistic that we'll have a better process going forward in the next budget cycle. We also met with Deputy Borough President Diana Richardson who invited all of the district managers from Brooklyn to talk to her about our priorities and needs for capacity support. And so I'm optimistic that some of those concerns and requests will come to fruition. And, you know, as district managers continue to work together, and increasingly, I think we're kind of gaining some traction on some of the needs that we have. I do want to remind everybody here to please join us for upcoming meetings in April, and to keep your eyes peeled for our May calendar, which will be out in a matter of days. And please, you know where to find us for all service delivery requests. That is any need that you have in the community that pertains to any city agency. We're your go-to, and you know where to find us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'm going to take a moment just to recognize the elected officials or representatives of elected officials in the chat, from the chat. I'm just going to do it in order as I see you. Ellie Slavin from Congresswoman Clark's office, welcome. We have, sorry, still going. Nancy Lulu from, excuse me, district, my brain's a little.
District Attorney's Office.
Thank you, District Attorney. Sorry, District Attorney, the District Attorney, Brooklyn District Attorney's Office. We also have Sabrina DeJuziz from, sorry, where am I? I'm so crazy today. I have it. Don't worry about me. Council member Farrah Lewis's office. We also are joined for the first time by Shadow Tarver, who is representing Assembly Member Cunningham. And let's see who else we have. If I've missed you, I'm sorry. I'm going to keep looking at the chat. At this point, I wanted to recognize that Deputy Inspector Separano from the 78th Precinct, who is now the commanding officer there, has joined us, and I want to welcome him. I also want to recognize that Police Officer Joseph is here from Community Affairs, and if the Deputy Inspector would like to speak, please go ahead and address the Assembly.
Yes, hi Joanne, how are you? How are you, Sean? I'm Deputy Inspector Bruce Separano. Whoever, you know, I try to introduce myself. I just started last Thursday, so it's my maybe 5th day assigned to 70 Precinct. I'm glad to be here. I just spent 3 great years in Staten Island. I was the commanding officer of the 121 Precinct. Prior to that, I was in the confines of the 70 Precinct, the CO of SRG3, which is right on Coney Island Avenue. I was there for about 2 years. And prior to that, I was an executive officer in about 4 different Brooklyn South commands in the 6-0, the 6-1, the 6-3, and the 7-2. And I spent 5 years as a police officer in the 6-7 Precinct, which is right next door. And I grew up in the 6-9 Precinct, which is in Canarsie. So, you know, Brooklyn South is in my blood. I'm glad to be here. And I'm you know, I'm all ears, I'm all eyes, and I'm willing to give everyone here my all. So, thank you.
Thank you so much. Welcome. We're so happy to have you. I want to recognize that Detective Nosy from the 17th Precinct Community Affairs is here. And I just got to give Nancy Lulu a shout out again, because I totally screwed that up, who is representing District Attorney Eric Gonzalez. Thanks so much for your patience. I appreciate it. Moving on to the chair's report. So good evening, board members. Ramadan Mubarak, wishing all the blessings of this holy month. Happy Passover to you and yours, and happy Easter to all who celebrate. The first item of my report is regarding the public hearing for 1640 Flatbush Avenue. On Monday, April 4th, 2022, a public hearing was called to order via WebEx. The purpose of this hearing was to hear testimony with respect to an affordable housing plan application pursuant to the Mandatory Inclusionary Housing Program, MIH. The applicant has filed an application seeking the MIH option for compliance with affordable housing requirements, ZR 23-154, paragraph D3, items 1 through 4, to facilitate the development of a 13-story mixed-use 171 dwelling unit building with 42 mandatory inclusionary housing units and 129 market rate units. The board previously reviewed the zoning change, which included the requirement that the building comply with the mandatory inclusionary housing program. That program requires that the developer provide the community board with the opportunity to review the application filed with HPD and to submit comments within 45 days of the receipt of the application material. There is no borough president, city planning, or city council review of this application. It is only subject to the approval by HPD. The following comments were generated from the hearing and with the full board's approval will be forwarded to HPD. I will read those comments to you. So the comments gathered at this hearing are listed below for your consideration. There is one 3-bedroom apartment in the plan, which is not part of the affordable mix. We ask that the addition of 3-bedroom affordable units be reconsidered. Can HPD provide an analysis of the stock of affordable units available in Community District 14 to ascertain the percentages of studios, 1, 2, and 3-bedroom units? We believe this will substantiate a need for larger apartments over studios and 1-bedroom units. While the applicant has met the minimum requirement for MIH, the community noted a need for additional affordability, both in terms of lower percentages of AMI, deeply affordable, and in terms of the number of units available. The applicant did note a pending application for 421A tax abatement. How will this affect the total number of units in the building? Will the developer be considered devoting more square feet or a greater number of units than minimally required? The applicant asserted that DOB, Department of Buildings, recommended a 2-core design that included 2 separate entrances and separate mailboxes. Does this mean separate addresses? The design is somehow meant to encourage community building among the occupants in each core, which are separated by a fire door on each floor that the applicant claims will remain accessible to move between each core. Please provide DOB's guidelines on this approach. Analysis of the plans submitted show that 71.4% of affordable units are on the Flatbush Avenue facing core, and 28.6% of affordable units are in the Aurelia Court facing core. There should be a guarantee that affordable units are equally distributed between the cores and assure that all amenities, views, natural light, traffic noise exposure, and other building qualities are equitably distributed and should remain as such after the certificate of occupancy is issued. In the previous application, both CB14 and the Borough President's Office approved the applications conditional upon reconsideration of the location of the loading dock. Depending on the type of commercial occupant, the delivery of goods on Aurelia Court is likely to be highly disruptive to the residents on the block. Because Aurelia Court is a 1-block street segment between Flatbush Avenue and East 31st Street, the traffic pattern to access the loading dock would be circuitous, and the necessary turning radius is likely to diminish the number of on-street parking spots. If loading dock cannot be accommodated on Flatbush Avenue, the applicant should provide a traffic study to ascertain the impacts of a loading dock on Aurelia Court and the limits to the size of vehicles that could access it. Please clarify the status of remedial action work plan as per the Brownfield Cleanup Agreement with the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. What are the remaining steps, the schedule for those steps, and the post-cleanup testing schedule? Lastly, we also would like HPD to clarify the housing process. For instance, will residents within the confines of Community District 14 have a 50% application preference ahead of the lottery for the affordable units? Will HPD ensure that local community-based organizations such as Flatbush Development Corporation will be contracted for community outreach and assistance preparing the application? Do the board members present have any? It was hello. The board members present during the public hearing voted to recommend these comments be delivered to HPD. Are there any questions from board members? Seeing no questions, do I have a motion to approve the public hearing comments for HPD?
Motion to approve, Gail Smith.
Second, Joel Siegel.
Thank you. So we'll go in the reverse order for voting on these comments. Are there any board members who wish to vote no on these comments? Seeing none, are there any board members that wish to abstain?
Aye.
Thank you. I see one abstention.
Deborah Valentine.
Oh, you as well? Okay, 2 abstentions.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I actually work for HPD.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, could you say the name of the other abstention? I
Well,
have Deborah Valentin.
Well,
Yvette Claire Jean.
it's Yvette Claire Jean, which is Jean, which is the abstention, and I believe that Deborah Valentin would be ineligible to vote. Okay, thank you very much for that. I'm just going to take a brief pause. I did see that Councilmember Farrell Lewis was on the line. Councilmember, did you wish to address this assembly?
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good evening, Chair Brown, and good evening, Community Board 14. Just passing by to say hi, wishing all who observe a happy Ramadan, Passover, and Easter. I believe Sabrina from my office will be on to just share more information about some work that we're doing with the precinct, the Community Board, and Flatbush Bid to deal with homelessness in the area, and a few other things. So I just wanted to come by and say hello. I'll let you proceed with your meeting. So I'll yield back to you, Chairwoman.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being here. I just wanted to recognize that Joelle Desauvet is here from Councilmember Joseph's office. Welcome. Just going to take a quick look to see if there's anybody else that I may have missed. Looking good. Okay, thank you very much. Moving on with my report, the Borough Board report. The Borough Board met on Tuesday, April 5th, 2022. The newly appointed Director of New York City Department of City Planning and Chair of the City Planning Commission, Dan Gorodnick, was present. He introduced himself and took questions from the floor. I addressed 2 items with the chair. The first one was the dissatisfaction and limitations with the portal in which district managers enter the items of our annual district needs statement. And the second item was the multitude of proposed text amendments that were sent into procedural motion just as community boards were moving towards hiatus last summer. If you recall, these included open restaurants, the fresh incentive, and health and fitness. The second presentation was from Chaim Gross with Heat, Cool, Smart Brooklyn campaign. Heat, Cool, Smart Brooklyn is a campaign brought to you by NYC 2030 district team in partnership with the Borough President's Office and the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority, otherwise known as NYSERDA. Part of the nationwide network, the NYC 2030 district works with local businesses, citizens, community organizations, and elected officials to implement sustainable energy systems in Brooklyn buildings and fosters educational initiatives to inform and promote awareness of green energy policies and practices. During the chair's report, I reported on our nonprofit roundtable, the March 22nd introduction of candidates for the assignment of commanding officer to the 17th precinct, and I announced our upcoming 15th annual youth conference. That ends the Borough Board report. The next item on my report is a letter that I have drafted to Mayor Adams and NYPD Commissioner Sewell. On March 22nd, the community came to order via Zoom to be introduced to 2 candidates for the assignment of commanding officer of the 17th precinct. The meeting was led by the president of the 17th Precinct Community Council, Ed Powell. As you recall, members of the executive committee of this board, along with community residents and business owners, gathered in September of 2021 to interview 4 candidates in person for the same assignment. The method in which the community was able to interact with the candidates in September versus March were quite different, and I question the new format's ability to gather transparent feedback about the candidates. I have written a letter to the mayor and to the NYPD commissioner contrasting those experiences and my disappointment with the new format. Board members received a copy of the draft letter, I am seeking board approval of this letter, which I also intend to deliver to all 50 community boards throughout the city to inform those bodies of the program itself and my concerns. I will not be reading the letter tonight for the sake of time. However, if approved by this board, the letter will be made public on our website tomorrow. Are there any questions from board members regarding the letter that you received today? Steve Cohen, board member, I see your hand up. Go ahead.
The letter seems to acknowledge that the departure of the prior commanding officer was hasty and abrupt, and I personally am very pleased with how quickly that position was able to be filled. So I'm just concerned with criticism that would, in the future, coming up with a procedure that would slow things down in the event of another abrupt or hasty departure, because I don't want to, put up the works, so to speak, if the process is otherwise going well, and it leads to the hiring of a good commanding officer. So I'm just wondering if you have any thoughts about that. Thank you.
With regards to look back on the experience in September versus the experience in March, I would say that there was a 1-day difference. So we had our interviews, which coincided with the same amount of time it took to organize the Zoom meeting that we attended. And we were given an additional day to gather our comments. I believe there was 7 people that attended the first round of interviews in person. We were given an additional day to formulate our feedback. The feedback, I have to say that the feedback that was generated by the Zoom meeting was very qualitative, and I'm really not sure if it was examined to the extent that the other comments were. So I don't think that there will be a tremendous amount of time if we were to go back to the way that it was originally presented, to at least the way the first 17 interviews were conducted, as far as I know. No, we were 17, so there was 18 interview programs conducted. So I don't think there'd be much of a delay. Does that seem satisfactory to you?
I hear what you're saying.
Gail Smith, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Yes, first of all, congratulations and welcome, Deputy Inspector Cipriano. If I recall, when we did the session via Zoom, you were not one of the folks one of the two candidates. So I'm pleased that you are the one that's gotten the position, but how did we get to this? Because I think that it would be a good idea, in addition to hire from the list of candidates that we already had screened, as we had done in September. So can someone, the question is.
Yeah, was the question to me or?
No, it's actually perhaps the chair can just explain, or Ed Powell if he's on, because I was under the impression that the 2 candidates that that were on Zoom were the ones that they would be selecting from.
So Deputy Inspector Cipriano was one of the 2 candidates. It was him and Loudon Hall.
Excuse me, and I don't drink, okay? But anyway, Deputy Cipriano, you look so different. Okay, well, congratulations. I really thought this was another of the candidates. My apologies.
I promise you, I was one of them. That's why I was a little confused with the question.
T.R. Cipriano has his Clark Kent glasses on tonight. Perhaps that's why he's not recognizable outright. Thank you so much, Gail. The next hand is from Joe Dweck. Go ahead, Board Member Joe Dweck.
Thank you, Chairwoman Brown. I had raised my objection to the entire process previously, and I just wanted to review it. That I didn't think that our process, in fact, is proper. I think that the questions that we had initially were really not cogent to the selection of the person, and my objections are still there. That I think the process is failing. That I would leave it up to the professionals who know the history of these folks better than we do, rather than cursory questions that we might ask.
Thank you very much. Next hand is from Sean Campbell.
Thank you. I just want to underscore that the letter does point out this is a process question. It's yet another, and Joe, for better or worse, the city has decided it wants community input. The board didn't go seeking that. It was sort of foisted upon the board, community board citywide, to have this extra responsibility in terms of participating in transparency and the like. But yet again, when the original proposal came before us, there was board input on the actual proposal at the time of the shaping of the proposal. So what's happened here is the same thing that's happened with a number of things we've been asked to do. We've been asked to do them after the city has decided how that policy will be shaped. So that is in the letter too, that once again, the city has decided the community board will participate in a process that the community board had no input on designing. And so I just have a general process objection with that, along with my DCP. You've heard many of my complaints along these lines before, and the city has to open up to the stakeholders it plans to include.
Thank you very much, District Manager Campbell. Any other comments or questions from board members?
Joel Siegel. Given
Yes.
Given what you said, Chairwoman Brown, I agree with your letter. I mean, given what Sean just said, I agree with your letter. But I would like to welcome our new commander and tell him that we have much better food options here than Staten Island.
Thank you, I appreciate it. And I'm sorry, I didn't create the process. That I was actually part of both processes. I'm sure Joanne Brown could tell you. So, but, I don't have a, I like the fact that the community has an input either way. So, but like I said, I don't make the process, but I am happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, and just to just to hit home, D.R. Separano, this is about process. This is not about the candidates at all. I just wanted to make that clear.
No, I understand 100%. I understand.
Gail Smith, you have your hand up.
I was just going to concur that it really is about process. The way that we had done it initially in September of last year was very much interactive and involved, and it was a pleasure and a great experience to learn all about the candidates and to be able to interview and speak with them candidly.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. Seeing no other hands, is there a motion to approve this letter?
Motion to approve, Joe Dweck.
Second, Efraim Nirenberg.
Thank you both. I'm going to go ahead and we'll again vote in the opposite direction. Is there any board members here who wish to vote against the letter?
I do. Keep going.
Thank you. See, is there anyone here who wishes to abstain from voting? One abstention. Michelle Brunson, board member. Are there any members who are ineligible to vote? Seeing none, the letter carries with 1 no and 1 abstention. Thank you very much, everyone. I believe we have another elected official. I want to welcome Assemblymember Brian Cunningham. Assemblymember Cunningham, would you like to address the assembly?
Hey, everybody. How you guys doing?
Hi there.
Hey, welcome. I guess this is welcome back home to Committee Board 14. No stranger to the board. Hi, Chair Joanne. Hi, District Manager Sean Campbell, Brian Cunningham, former member of Committee Board 14. I'm excited to be back in my new capacity. I'm wishing all on Ramadan, Passover, and upcoming Easter a happy month. Just wanted to let you guys know that we opened our district office at 330 Empire Boulevard. Just this Monday, we were elected last week to the New York State Assembly 2 weeks ago and got sworn in just about a week ago. I'm happy to serve this community. I know this community very intimately from my experience with this board. Also on the line is Shadow Tarver, who is my incoming chief of staff, who will be directly assigned to this community board when I'm in Albany. But really looking forward to working with you in this new capacity and learning more. Welcome also to the deputy inspector. We and I had an opportunity to talk last night via text. Looking forward to working with you as well. But thank you guys, and I'm looking forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much and welcome. We look forward to working with you too. I want to recognize that Assemblymember Robert Carroll is on the line. Assemblymember, would you like to address the Assembly?
Hi, Joanna. Of course I would. Good evening. It's wonderful to be here with Community Board 14 and very excited to hear Brian, my new colleague in the Assembly, who got his feet wet very quickly with the state budget that was over a week late. And so I think he's fully kind of baptized into how we do things up in Albany. And I want to, it's nice to meet Deputy Inspector Separano. He reached out to me the other day and I was in the middle of something and I owe him a call back. So thank you for that. And it's nice to meet you over Zoom, and I'll give you a call tomorrow morning when I'm in my office. But just very quickly, as many of you probably are aware, last Friday we passed the state budget. It was over $220 billion with record funding for public schools, $4 billion for the Environmental Bond Act, money for childcare for low-income New Yorkers, as well as additional funds for home care workers in New York who have been receiving very, very low wages for far too long, a 20% increase in their wages. There was a lot of good record funding for both SUNY and CUNY. I'm a SUNY graduate, and my brothers and my mother were CUNY Brooklyn graduates, so I think that's really important. There were some other things in the budget that I didn't love, especially the fact that the governor used $850 million of state and local funds to fund the Buffalo Bills' new football stadium, which was really, really egregious. But that being said, I do think there were a lot of positive things that came out of our state budget and hopefully will help us recover as we hopefully are able to get past COVID as some of these variants subside and as we try to get to a new normal. But I know you have a long meeting. If anybody has a quick question about the budget, I'd be happy to answer a quick question or two about the budget if time permits, Joanne.
Of course. I can take two questions. Florencia and Changagate, do you have a question?
Yes, good evening, Assemblymember Carroll. I just wanted to know, were there any allowances made for children going back to school because of COVID? So many children, I learned there were kids that were in the homes with dead bodies, for 48 to 72 hours. And so I do believe that a lot of the youths in school, kids, they do need some kind of counseling or, so I was wondering if there was allowances made for that.
Florencia, so I specifically no, but, broadly speaking, yes. I mean, so, we are going to spend a record amount. I mean, we'll spend roughly in New York City, $38 billion this year on the Department of Education. That is money that I hope is well spent on things like school counselors, on, reading teachers, on a whole host of things to make sure that our children are able to deal socially and emotionally with what's gone on over the last 2 years and also catch up from learning loss that happened while lots of kids were learning remotely. And that was very difficult for many of our children. And, I think we need to we have record amounts of both tax revenue as well as revenue from the federal government. We should use that wisely to make sure that we invest in our children, invest in green infrastructure, invest in our colleges, and we've done a lot of that in this state budget. So hopefully it'll be put to good use.
Thank you very much. Next question is from Greg Alvarez.
Thank you, and good evening, Assemblyman. Just a question. I think I read that as part of the budget, the 421A program did not make it in, so it effectively will expire. If that is correct, just sort of wondering what may be in the works in terms of alternative plans to create more affordable housing. Thank you.
Great question, Greg. So the 421A program, for those who don't know, is a affordable housing program that gives tax abatements to developers to build affordable housing as well as market rate housing. It's usually about 70-30. It's usually about 70% market rate, 30% affordable, and it's on a scale of what is and is not affordable. That program expires on June 15th. So it was not in the budget, and I think it was appropriate for it not to be in the budget because we actually decoupled the 421A program in either 2018 or 2019, I forget, from the budget. It used to expire on March 31st, so it was ostensibly a budget negotiated item. And when we negotiated the new 421A program, we purposefully put it in the middle of June so that it wouldn't become part of the budget negotiation, which I think was appropriate. So what will happen? I mean, I think the governor and many people would like to see a renewal of a program similar to the current 421A. In full disclosure, I would like to see a program, if we're going to give away large amounts of future property tax revenue, I think the program needs to produce many more affordable apartments. In my district, and my district is very diverse. It runs from places like Ditmas Park and Victoria and Flatbush, all the way through Kensington and parts of Borough Park, through Windsor Terrace, Park Slope, and now even parts of Prospect Heights. We have many people who are living in apartments and condo units that are going for millions upon millions of dollars that were built through 421 and paying zero in property tax. I do think we need to bring property tax equity and figure out a way to make sure that folks are paying their fair share, as well as we're not overburdening folks who've been living in neighborhoods for a long, long time and have seen the value of their homes increase tremendously. So I do think something will happen. I think it's a complex issue. I think that if we're going to give this giant tax break to folks, I think we have to see real returns. That's kind of my line in the sand for that, Greg.
Great, thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us, Assemblymember Carroll. And also I want to thank both the Assembly members that are on the line for sticking it out through that, marathon budget season. And so thank you for all of your hard work. Returning to the chair's report, my next item is about the nonprofit roundtable. Lastly, you'll hear more about the CD14 nonprofit roundtable during the Human Services Committee report, but I just wanted to take a moment to thank Comptroller Lander for addressing the group. I want to thank all of the representatives of elected officials who attended. And last but not least, our incredible nonprofits who gather to network and build alliances. Thank you all. My final item is that on Thursday, April 7th, I was joined by Florencia Shangagata, who is the co-chair of the Community Safety Committee, Ed Powell, who's a board member and also the president of the 78th Precinct Community Council, and Joe Dweck, who's a board member, second vice chair. We attended the 5th memorial anniversary service for police officer David Guevara from the 70th Precinct. It was at the Christian Cultural Center, and it was very moving. Thank you, everyone. That's the end of my report. Moving on to reports from topical committees. The first report will be from Housing and Land Use. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Brown. Greg Alvarez, co-chair along with Talisha Saintville. We'd just like to report back that on April 4th, right before the public hearing that was discussed earlier, we did hold a Housing and Land Use Committee meeting where we hosted David Weisglass from the Department of City Planning, who is our liaison with that department. And he explained for us briefly the concept of mandatory inclusionary housing, since it was the topic of our public hearing. And so he helped guide us through the history, which included dating back to 1987, and sort of the underpinnings of it, which was to create, or actually to alleviate the economic segregation in certain neighborhoods in our communities. And so the idea was to create more affordable housing through this program. Initially, it was more of a voluntary program, and then it evolved by 2016 into a mandatory component where there's actually mapping that has been created where certain areas are targeted for this type of housing. We have in Community Board 14, as we know, certain areas that are designated as such. And then from there, he discussed sort of the nuts and bolts of it, including the different options that are available to developers, and frankly, some of the limitations of it as well. But there are a number of options that are available to developers, and just certainly based on the public hearing that took place after that, sort of talked about some of the push that we as community board members can assist to try to achieve more than just the minimum that's required into the program. So it was a very helpful program to lead into the public hearing, and it generated good discussion. So that's my summary for this evening, and we'll be looking for more programs like that in the future.
Thank you very much. Sorry, I was reading something in the chat. Thank you very much for your report. Next report is from Community and Cultural Affairs and Economic Development.
Hi, how are you today? We had a meeting on March 31st with representatives, 3 different bids: the Church Avenue bid, the Flatbush Avenue bid, and the Flatbush Nostrum Junction bid. And they were talking about the services they provide. 2 of the main services they provide are security in their area, as well as sanitation. And they asked us to come back to the board and ask if we could write a letter encouraging the city to help contribute to their funding. Apparently their funding is very low. It's self-generated from the neighborhood, and they'd like the city to throw in some city money into the mix. They said with crime going up, they need more security, and with sanitation, with all the garbage thrown around the streets, they're also having problems with that. So if they could get just a little bit more money from the city of New York, they would really appreciate it. Sean has helped draft a letter that we'd like to send to the city of New York, supporting their request for more funding. The second thing that happened was today, we went to the groundbreaking in Prospect Park. They're developing a passive recreational area just above the dog run. There'll be tables for chess, checkers, lawn bowling, and other less strenuous projects in the park. It's right above the dog run, and it will be, groundbreaking was today, and they expect it to be up and running by next spring. Any questions?
I just have a point of order question, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Donald, are you seeking, does the board approve supporting the support letter for funding for the bid proposal?
Okay, does someone want to second my request to approve the funding letter?
Seconded.
Okay, could we?
Yeah, we'll vote.
Okay.
So regarding the support letter, it did come out of the committee as a recommendation. Anyone here wish to vote against sending the letter of support? Anyone wish to abstain on voting?
I abstain, Joe Dweck.
Okay, thank you. 1 abstention. Anyone ineligible to vote? Okay, thank you very much. Donald, do you finish with your report?
I am, thank you.
Okay. I wanted to say that I see Councilmember Rita Joseph has joined us. Councilmember, did you want to address this assembly?
I just wanted to say hello to everyone. Happy holidays to all the ones celebrating Passover soon, Ramadan and Easter. Just wanted to stop by. Good to see you today, Campbell. Good seeing you, Donald. It was a pleasure hanging out with you at the park. Yeah, we did unveil a new park groundbreaking ceremony today for a new great space, ping pong, chess. I look forward to it. Donald said he'll take me on a game, so I can't wait. So I just wanted to stop by and say hello. Joelle was here, so.
Thank you very much for being here. We appreciate it. And I'm really looking forward to playing some bocce ball. I'm going to start my own club.
And ping pong, they could have ping pong there also.
And ping pong.
Challenge you to bocce.
We're going to move on to the next report from the Transportation Committee.
Thank you, Chair Brown. On behalf of the entire Transportation Committee and Co-Chair Barton Brisson, provide the following report. We held the meeting last week, April 6th. The first presenter was Jerry Bogatz from the New York Metropolitan Transportation Council, and he presented to tell us about federal funding for transportation projects. He told us that NYMTC's New York City members include NYC Planning, NYC DOT, and along with those, there's also New York State Department of Transportation, MTA, along with various counties. Advisory members include the Port Authority, NJ Transit, FHA, DEC, and EPA. The presentation noted that the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, or bipartisan infrastructure law, authorized fiscal funding through 2026. The presentation also mentioned unknowns that NYMTC is dealing with in regard to the future, including the duration of pandemic impacts, the pace of the recovery, and changes in business and employment practices. Excuse the dog barking in the background. The next presenter was Transportation Alternatives and Flatbush Streets for People, and they presented regarding traffic and pedestrian safety in our area. Flatbush Streets for People is an all-volunteer group of residents of Flatbush, Kensington, East Flatbush, and Midwood. They showed us that CD14 had a relatively high number of street deaths and injuries compared to neighboring districts in Brooklyn. They provided a number of suggestions for traffic calming and safety measures that they recommended be implemented locally, including protected bike lanes and raised crosswalks, for example. They also identified key traffic corridors where they believed additional attention was needed, including Coney Island Avenue, Flatbush Avenue, and Linden Boulevard. They noted the lack of west-east bike lanes in our district. They also noted that a large percentage of buses in the district arrive late, between 30 and 50% approximately. A robust discussion followed the presentation, with some community members and board members expressing support for some of the recommendations and others suggesting that some recommendations require additional thought or review. And the Transportation Committee's next meeting will be on May 4th, where DOT plans to present a review of the Church Avenue bus lanes. And so I believe that will be in the May calendar that Sean alluded to earlier. Thank you.
Thank you. And it really was a great discussion. That was a great meeting. Thank you very much to the co-chairs. Moving on to community safety.
Good evening, everyone. Ramadan Mubarak and happy Good Friday and Easter and Hoc Pesach. On behalf of my co-chair, Mr. Eb Treff, I'm going to present to you the report of March 24th, sorry. Okay, it's catching. Okay, it's the 24th. Many of you may know that in the northern section of our community that there are some gang-related shootings and, gun violence. And so our district manager, Sean Campbell, reached out to the DA's office, to Ms. Nancy Lulu, who is our public engagement associate, and Mr. Al Matthew of the Brownsville Think Tank Matters. He is the CEO of it, and so those were the two presenters that we had. We also had Councilmember Farah Lewis, Assemblymember Brian Cunningham, newly elected Assemblymember Brian Cunningham, although I didn't get an opportunity to acknowledge him because I didn't see him, but he was there. And our Councilmember Rita Joseph was there as well. as representatives, and Officer Joseph, with whom I usually go out to do community response and shooting responses and community outreach. Ms. Nancy Lulu informed us that the DA's office works in close partnership with the NYPD and law enforcement partners to protect our Brooklyn community. The office focuses on crimes committed by violent offenders to promote fair justice. She also said that some misdemeanor offenses were, the DA's office looked for alternative crime prevention resources for crime prevention rather than prosecute them. And so they also work with CBOs for a safer community. We also learned about the 5 zones, the 5 trial zones. That is, there are 23 police precincts within the Brooklyn community, and they're separated into 5 trial zones, which are color coded. And CB14 and the 70th precinct do fall within the green zone. The office, she informed us, they do also have public engagement services, and that there is a program called the Project Redirect, which is for court mandated youths between the ages of 14 through 22 that are facing first-time felony charges or who have been involved in a gang-related activity or possession of firearms. They do provide education opportunities, personal guidance, encouragement, and job placement resources. The youth who are involved in this must complete the program or else they will be imprisoned. In other words, they will pay the penalty. The DA office, we learned, work to reduce arrests, prosecutions, and incarceration of youth through the Red Hook Justice Center and the violence intervention measures. The DA's office this year had, they did have high school internships for the spring and summer months, and the dates for application began on April 1st of this year. The Saturday Night Light program that Councilmember Farah Lewis spoke about and advocated into getting into our community is funded by the Brooklyn DA's office. There are 26 sites that host this program. And in our community, the YMCA on Flatbush, 1401 Flatbush Avenue does host it. Also in Councilmember Farah Lewis's, in the Board 17, she also got the PS 109 to host that as well. The program is held every Saturday between 5 to 9 p.m. where youths ages 9 through 18 learn basketball fundamentals. They also learn, develop other life skills, and it's a safe place where, you know, it helps in reducing delinquency. The DA's office also celebrates ethnic diversities such as Hanukkah, and so I've been to some of these events, Ramadan, Kwanzaa, Black History Month, Women's History, so forth and so on. In order to find the numbers for the DA's Action Center, hate crimes, victim services, teen dating violence, immigration affairs, labor fraud, elder abuse, human trafficking, and domestic violence, also teen, oh, I did say that, teen. You can go to www.brooklynda.org. And so, Councilmember Farah Lewis did address us, and so she informed us about the growing opioid and homeless situation in the Flatbush Junction. And she did, she informed us that Sean had joined them on one of the calls in trying to have those issues resolved within our community. She was instrumental in getting Catholic Charities, which is now located at the junction, to provide the methadone clinics. And as I mentioned before about her getting the Saturday night lights here in our community. She also advocated in getting the crisis management teams, the Brownville think tank, which is funded by the mayor's office. Also coming, she said, will be elite learners and CAVI. They're in other parts of the communities, but they will be coming to our community, which is within Council Member Joseph's constituency as well. And so Councilmember Joseph also spoke. She greeted us and she thanked Farah for the work that she's doing, and we know that the council member is doing great work since she began as well. Next was Mr. Al Matthew of the Brownsville think tank, also /drum. And it's a crisis intervention and cure violence outreach organization. I recently had the privilege of being on their hiring panel. They're funded by the mayor's office as part of the solution to reduce gun violence within our community. They're originated in Brownsville Recreation Center. Professor Gray Donaldson encouraged Al, who is the CEO, to do something to help the youth of the community, and volunteered to teach youth ages 14 through 18 public speaking. And that helped in alleviating some of the gang problems that were happening, but then more needed to be done. And so as he got more involved, it led him to collaborate with Court Alternatives, Schools for Peace, Sports for Peace, which led him to work with teams that had youth as young as 8-year-old. And this was something he said that prompted him when he saw youth 8 years old on probation. And so he knew he had to do more. And eventually it led to, the mayor's office asking him to be a voice, to deal with the kids that were out there playing the loud music and the dice, and, basically could be a problem. And so they did that. He also, in 2019, the Haitian American Coalition reached out to him, in regards to the homeless community and to help with the situation there. So currently he is located also in the Flatbush Junction, and he was given the Cure Violence model by the mayor's office. They offer conflict resolution, critical thinking, and job readiness to youths at risk. Many times you can find them in problem areas like Regent's Place, Ocean and 21st, East 18, Ditmas, and most recently we were both at the press conference for the kid who was shot and killed, the 12-year-old Kane. His name begins with a K. I can't remember right now. It's so much. Every day is something else. But Mr. Al Matthew is very vigilant. We meet up, when there's a shooting or something, unfortunately, we're there, no matter what time of day or night it is. Him more so than I am, but many times I'm there as well. And so, unfortunately, it's one of the things that we have to deal with within our communities. And then Ms. Prescott shared her harrowing experience that she had just the day before we had this meeting, which would have been on the 23rd. And finally, our board chair, Ms. Joanne Brown, and she told you all about it, the letter that she brought to us, that she drafted, which we just voted on. So, and that is the end of this evening's report. Thank you very much, and we look forward to the next one.
Thank you very much for your report. I just want to, and thank you for bringing up the fact that I did read the letter to the committee, and the committee voted to recommend the letter to the full board. I'm sorry that I forgot to mention that at the head of my report. I wanted to recognize that Pincus Heiken is here from Comptroller Brad Lander's office. Moving on to the next topical committee report, that will be Youth Services, Education, and Libraries.
Hello, everybody. This is Nikki Levinson Angulo, co-chair of the committee, joined by Carl Henry Cesar. We are really excited because our committee report, if you read your email, has to do with our upcoming youth conference. So how many people received the email with the date and information about how you can help support the 15th annual youth conference? You can raise a digital hand, or you can raise a real hand, or you can raise both hands, multiple hands, you know. So the 15th annual conference, we're super excited, will be taking place, mark your calendar, April 27th, so pretty soon, from 4 to 7 p.m. in the evening. I'm gonna drop the URL and some, like the flyer in the chat when we're done speaking, but first I wanna thank our community partner, the Prospect Park Alliance, because it's gonna be at a different location that we've never used before, which is really exciting, which is the Lefrak or Lefrak Center, aka the ice skating rink at Prospect Park. So we'd like to thank the Prospect Park Alliance for helping make that possible. COPO, which is our co-sponsor, and we want to say a special thanks to Councilmember Rita Joseph. And also thank you to Community Board 9, even though there's probably not anyone from Community Board 9 on tonight. This is so close to the border of their district that they're going to help with outreach. So I want to ask everybody, again, take out your notepad, because the email that you should have received had 3 ways that you can help make this conference the successful event that it has been for so many years. So if you have just 5 minutes, please help us just spread the word. I'm going to share, again, you have all this in your email already, but there's a flyer. That's where we could really use help. If you can print it out, if you can tell Sean and Anya that you could use some copies printed at the district office and literally just walk around your neighborhood, your building, obviously following all laws about posting signage, but just put up some flyers, right? Because this is a new venue. It's been 2 years. No, it's been 1 year, 2 years. I don't know. Time doesn't work during the pandemic. It's been a while since we had this in person, right? So we really need to recruit kids a lot more actively than we might have in the past. So 5 minutes, put up some flyers, post something on social media, encourage your family and friends to come. If you have 10 minutes, you can forward the official letter of invitation to organizations that you think might be a great fit for the conference and should have a table. It's totally free for them to participate, and all they have to do is register. And then if you've got an hour or more, right, you're feeling really generous, please come to the event, especially if you're a new board member. Again, I'm mainly trying to wake everybody up. That's why I keep asking you to raise your hands. So how many of you have never been to the youth conference before? Okay, how many of you have been to, okay, I see a few hands. How many of you have been to the youth conference? Yay, okay. So really, you don't have to do anything. It's just great to have people come. But if you'd like to do something, there is a sign-up form on the website. Again, all of this is in your email, and we would love to just know what you'd like to do to help. We could just use people there to help answer questions from the many hundreds of young people that come. Oh, thank you for putting that in the chat. You know, you could provide all sorts of support. So please stop by, especially if you're a newer board member. And I want to hand it over to Carl to just give an update on our progress in terms of recruitment so far.
So folks, good evening. Thank you very much. Awesome co-chair Nikki. And so, like she said, the youth conference is just about 2.5 weeks away, and we are so excited about it. And so a little bit of an update where things are is, as of, this morning, essentially, we have 30 organizations that have signed up, and our goal is about 50 to 60. So we're about halfway there. And then so far, too, about 30 students have signed up. And so to echo what Nikki had said, one of the ways to help out is, getting the flyer and distributing it as well. And the school flyer mailing just went out last week, and also an email blast went out to school principals, parent coordinators, youth and parents. The social media regarding the youth conference is up. So that specifically means Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. Those links are also on the youth conference website itself. And also, if everything goes well, then the announcement for the youth conference will also be up on the Link NYC kiosks starting this week. And so far as well, we have received 9 proposals for workshops, and the deadline for the workshop submittals is this Wednesday. So that's it.
Joe, I see your hand is raised.
Yeah, first, God bless you, Carl and Nicole. It's unbelievable how many lives you improve. God bless you both. I just wanted to say that I reached out to the FBI. They're supposed to be reaching out to you to man a booth.
They already applied, Joe.
That's great. Good news, because the federal government works on a different time schedule. They might get back to you like August, September, something like that. But good, I'm glad. Thanks.
Yeah, they beat the 7-0. Hint, hint.
And as long as we're asking God to bless people, I think Sean and Anya and Joanne always like shy away from this, but they really deserve a huge thank you. Like Carl and I show up and we give the committee report, but they're the ones who found this super cool new venue, who do like all the behind the scenes work. So seriously,
Thanks,
like
Nikki.
a huge thank you.
We do shy away from that, but if we're going to accept your kind compliments, let's also include Patricia Olander, who's been really on the ball, getting a lot of things going with the website and social media and stuff like that.
I'm sorry, do you want me to reach out to the NYPD also?
No, Joe, I got it. I was just, I can't not poke fun at the new CO or he won't recognize me next time.
I like it. It's okay. I like it.
And then I saw there were a number of other hands raised. I didn't see what order they were in, but I saw Joel, Dasuv, Mohammed Razvi, and I think Gail. I'm not sure if I got the order correct. But maybe let's start with Joel.
Oh, Nicole, I raised my hand just to say that I was aware of the youth annual conference, and congratulations on getting that happening, because I remember when we were planning it and then you were battling with the date because you were planning your vacation and you didn't want to miss it. And now we have a date and everybody will be able to get there and I will attend it. So I am looking forward to it.
Thank you, Joel. And just for the public record, I am not going on vacation for my actual job. I have to go on a business trip. Believe me, I would rather be at the youth conference in Brooklyn. And I really mean that. Thank you, Joel. But thank you for your support and for coming. Mohammed Razvi from COPO, our co-sponsor, to whom we are extremely grateful. And I just see his hand up. I don't know if he actually wanted to make any remarks or anything, but I think it's worth repeating. Thank you so much. Oh, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. So no, I just wanted to say, I'm so glad that regarding with, the event, I look forward, and I actually also have FBI of the Hate Crimes Task Force Unit to do a presentation to the youth.
Thank you so much, and we really appreciate your support on multiple levels.
Absolutely.
Any other questions or comments? Carl, anything you want to add?
Nope. Just thank you everyone for your help, and let's make this a great one and keep that energy up. That's it.
Thank you so much, both of you. I just want to recognize that Elias Slavin from Congresswoman Clark's office is here. Thank you so much for being here. Moving on to the last report of topical committees is Human Services.
Hello. Can everyone hear me? Am I on?
Yes, you are.
Okay. I'll even put my camera on early on here. We did not have a meeting this month, but we did have the roundtable, and I'm not going to go into the incredible number of presenters, but just to say that we started off with kind of an overview of how the application for funding and changes in the application from Brad Landers. And, you know, they're hoping to streamline, they're in the process of computerizing and streamlining the application system so that hopefully it will go more smoothly for all of the many services that we have in the community and will enable them to get their money faster and, you know, and be able to do their work. There were just an incredible number of presenters. I know Grow New York currently has a petition going. They were at the Green Market on Sunday with a QR code because apparently the funding to schools for their environmental programs and recycling and so forth have been cut, and that's a problem. The thing that really struck me from the roundtable was the tremendous number of programs that we do have within our community. Everything from, you know, as has been mentioned, programs, programs addressing addiction, mental health services, and those services are available for adults, for children, for families. So really covering, you know, the range of the population. There's quite a number of programs addressing, we're trying to address the homelessness issue, which has become, you know, much more severe in recent years and probably difficult for everybody to keep up with. And then the other thing that we learned about was the fact that there are a number of programs for adult learners to learn computer skills, to learn other skills. I know we had a presentation from the Department of Education for an adult education programs where they get certified in various fields, and that's on Saturdays at the Brooklyn Navy Yard. But there are other programs as well through the libraries, including programs for people who are learning English as a second language and learning computer skills and other kinds of things that, you know, and all of these programs are free and people can just go, you know, and look on their public library or stop into their library if they don't have computers or computer skills and find out what is available to them. We also have a number of services in the community for children through adult with special needs, physical, developmental disabilities. They assist with accessible housing, with getting equipment that they might not be getting through their insurance, but might need, such as wheelchairs, walkers, motorized wheelchairs and the like, as well as programs, you know, for children and adults with disabilities. And that's a very important population to address. We often don't see their needs unless we are personally affected. That's really it. And I just think that, you know, kind of my takeaway is that all of us as community board members should just be cognizant that there are myriad services within the community for housing, for homelessness, for food insecurity, for medical assistance, right on down the line. And that our CB board, I'm sure, has an of all of these presenters, so that if we see people who are having difficulty getting the kinds of services they need, our community board is a good resource for being able to say, oh, you know, we can find out about these various services and they may be helpful. So thank you. And to everybody, Hag Sameach Pesach and a good Ramadan and happy Easter, and I'll see you in a week.
Thank you very much. It really was a great day. And that concludes the reports from topical committees. Moving on to the next agenda item is the ad hoc committees. That would be the CB14 Flatbush African Burial Ground Task Force. As there is as I am interim chair just until one is elected from the committee, there is no report from this task force. We are having our first meeting, will be on Thursday, April 21st. Also a reminder that community and board members who are not named to the task force are always welcome to attend and participate in the meetings. Moving on to the public session of this meeting. This brings us to our public comment period. Board members are expected to remain for the public comment period. Because we're meeting remotely, all speakers were asked to pre-register via email to the board office. Any member of the public who is not able to register in time can follow up directly with the board and staff, who will include appropriate announcements on the CB14 website. Matters of civic interest and announcements of public events are invited. No partisan political appeals or advertising of for-profit enterprises are permitted. Service delivery requests should be brought to the attention of the staff by email or during regular business hours. Each speaker will be permitted up to 3 minutes and may not receive additional time from another speaker. The board has an obligation to conduct its business in an orderly manner. Any person preventing the meeting from continuing will be muted and possibly disconnected from the meeting. The intent of the public comment period is to permit board and the community a chance to hear diverse perspectives on public issues. Accordingly, we ask that groups be represented by a single speaker. It is now 8:17. Anya Hoyer will be announcing our previously registered speakers at this time. Thank you, Anya.
Good evening. Our first speaker is Nancy Lulu from the Brooklyn District Attorney's Office.
Good evening. Thank you, Anya. Good evening, District Manager, Chair, Madam Chair, Community Board members, and attendees. I bring greetings on behalf of DA Gonzalez to everyone. Just a couple of announcements. On March 27th, the Brooklyn DA's office partnered with Safe Horizon Immigration Law Project, Brooklyn Law School Safe Harbor Clinic, and held a Project Safe Refuge event for Ukrainians in New York and provided free legal consultation to Ukrainians in New York who are seeking temporary protected status, fee waiver, and employment authorization. The event was a success, thanks to all the partners, and we will continue to keep the people of Ukraine in our thoughts and pray for a peaceful and expeditious resolution to this conflict. I'm going to be brief this evening, but I encourage everyone to visit the Brooklyn DA's office's website and social media platforms to read about our latest press releases and updates. Also, if there is a public safety matter or a quality of life concern in your community, to call our Brooklyn DA's Action Center at 718-250-2340. As always, I would like to thank Community Board 14 for all their efforts and for everything that they do. Florencia, shout out to you for giving out that great summary. You did a better job than I did. Also, happy holidays and wishing our Muslim brothers and sisters a Ramadan Mubarak, an easy fast, happy Easter, and happy Pesach to everyone that observes. That's it on my end. Thank you, and have a good evening.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Tova Chatsanoff from Councilmember Ina Vernikoff's office. Tova may have had to jump off the line. Are you still with us? Okay, we will come back. Next will be Sabrina DeJuste from Councilmember Farrah Lewis's office.
Everyone hear me? Okay. Good evening, everyone, and happy Easter, Passover, and Ramadan. So I bring greetings from the Councilmember Farrah Lewis's office. On this call, we do have our new social media and community engagement director, Tamara Bonnet Cardona. I don't know if she's on the call. I know she was on the call with me tonight. but doing the bring greetings from the Councilmember's office, and I will share Tamara's information in the chat so you guys can all get acquainted with her. So just some quick announcements from our office. So on the cabinet meeting with Community Board 14, I was able to inform city agencies and District Manager Campbell that the member was able to allocate funding for MLP services for Community Board 14. So I did get informed there were some hotspots in Community Board 14 that needed to be tackled. So that message has been relayed to sanitation. So hopefully these services will start very soon, and you guys will start seeing a bit of a difference in the cleanliness in our city. Secondly, beginning last month, we have been in contact with Community Board 14, the 7-0 precinct, Senator Kevin Parker's office, Flatbush Junction bid, and many other community leaders to address the homeless issue on Flatbush Junction. So we will be having our next meeting coming up very shortly, and hopefully next week, along with Catholic Charities. So yes, so we'll be having our next meeting next week, including, and we will have invited Catholic Charities, it has been kind of a challenge to bring them to the table. So we look forward to working with them on this issue, because we do know as the weather gets warmer, we will be seeing that population come out. And we know it's a public safety issue, along with some other issues that need to be addressed. Secondly, I don't know if you guys are aware, but there is a new Citizens Bank. There has been a citywide closure of HSBCs throughout the entire city. So as a replacement, Citizens Bank has taken over. Lastly, we want to let you know that the office is in partnership with the Flatbush Junction bid, along with SBS, to conduct a Flatbush merchant survey. So we hope that everyone that we do come across on the street, we will find you. You can fill out the survey to give us some feedback and allow us to accumulate some data. And that's really it. And I will include all the updates in my contact information in the chat.
Carl Henry Cesar, you had a question?
Yes, I do. So, folks, again, good evening. Ms. DeJuice, thank you for that update. Question, if I heard you correctly, I think you said that the HSBCs have closed throughout Brooklyn and Citizens Bank will be taking over. Do you have any insight into how come, those HSBCs are closing?
So actually, this is so the member is still on the line, so she can also answer that. But to my knowledge, I do not have all the details, but we do know this was a major issue for us, not in Community Board 14, but in Community Board 17, where the HSBC in a local pharmacy was closed down. So that accessibility to seniors was a major issue. So we did have to investigate, and seeing that that is happening in Junction, Citizens Bank has taken over. But I can definitely get you those that insight, because I think it's a nationwide thing, actually, not just a city thing, a nationwide thing where HSBC is closing down. I think it's bankrupt at this point. I'm not too sure.
Yes, to answer that question, HSBC, the institution as a whole, has closed 69 of its 82 branches nationally. So we just happen to be one of the first iterations of them closing their banks. So now we have Citizens Bank at the Junction. We are working with Senator Parker's office, who has been helping us to deal with the matter. The state oversees banks, and we're trying to see if we could get another bank into the district, particularly at the Flatbush Junction. We also have HSBC Bank on Avenue D in East Flatbush, but at the moment, this is what we've been granted for this part of the district.
Understood. Thank you both very much for that insight.
You got it.
Okay, our next speaker is Gabriel Jameson from the Center for NYC Neighborhoods. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Happy holidays. I thought you could see me, guys, but I guess you cannot see me because I can't, the camera's not working. But good afternoon, by the way. Good evening, by the way. I'm with the Center for New York City Neighborhood. I wanted to do like a little quick presentation, but that's not going to happen. So basically, I'm with the Center for New York City Neighborhood. I'm Policy Research Fellow. I'm working on the Black Homeownership Project. Since 2008 financial crisis, been a dramatic decrease in Black homeownership since then, 2008 to now. And basically the policy research group is basically there to create interventions and pilots to expand and preserve Black homeownership across New York City. It's not that much Black homeownership. We came up with pilot interventions. 5 of them already have funding, and we have another 5 of them that are new interventions that we want you guys to take a look at. If you basically want to get back in touch with me, I'm going to put my number and my email in the chat. You guys can reach out to me. I know in Councilwoman Farrah District, there's a lot of Black homeowners in that community, and we like to bring resources to that neighborhood and not just to that neighborhood, other members that are Black that want to get involved into homeownership. So these are the resources we have and the interventions we have into this, bring it into this neighborhood. So that's pretty much what this is really about, the Black Homeownership Project, and how can we bring interventions and policy to expand these programs and these pilots. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, we have Ken Lazar from the Department of Buildings.
Good evening. Just a point of information, Investors Savings Bank is merging with Citizens Bank. So all investors banks are going to become Citizens Banks. Good evening. Ken Lazar, Department of Buildings. I want to discuss this evening the Homeowners Relief Program. The department, under this program, owners of 1 and 2 family homes can correct many violating conditions without incurring financial penalties. There is a whole list, I don't have the full list, of violations. On 1 and 2 family homeowners will receive notices of notices that they have a violation, but they will not receive a financial penalty if they correct it within 60 days. So basically how they qualify for this is if they have not received a violation in the past 5 years, or if they are a new homeowner. They don't have to do anything special. The inspectors go to the house. If they do find the violating condition, they automatically enroll them in this program, and they have 60 days to make the correction. If they do not correct the violating condition, then they will receive a normal violation. This was brought into effect a few months ago, actually about 6 months ago, or maybe a little longer. And it's been very successful. The main concern here is getting the hazardous conditions corrected. And hopefully people take it seriously. You know, you get 60 days, they get an architect, they get the violations corrected. And safety is the main issue here. You know, so people don't get hurt. There is no fee. Basically, all it is, they have to obtain a permit to get the work done. And if they get things done, everyone will be safe. That's basically it. Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. And this is Sean. If there's any additional information that you want posted on our website, email it over and we're happy to put a link up.
I just emailed it to you.
Sweet. We'll have it up there tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Mary Santiago and Michelle Humphrey-White from Canva.
Hello.
Mary and Michelle from Canva.
Yes, hi, good evening. My name is Michelle Humphrey-White, and I am Program Director at Canva. I oversee our SNAP program, and I'm not sure if Mary is on the call, but
Yes, I am. Sorry. I was muted. I'm sorry.
okay. So I'm going to hand it over to Mary, who is the NOOP and SNAP coordinator in the community.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mary Santiago. I am a NORP coordinator at CAMBA. I assist people applying for SNAP benefits, which is a supplemental nutrition assistance program, provides benefits to low-income individuals and families via an electronic benefits transfer card. There is a lot of stigma surrounded by SNAP benefits. There are many people who are eligible for SNAP benefits but do not apply. This can be due to shame or just not knowing that they are eligible. There is a lot of confusion about who is eligible when it comes to SNAP benefits. There are non-citizens. We have many clients who are non-citizens. There is an issue when it comes to them knowing if they're eligible or not. Some are not sure if they have an LPR for more than 5 years, they are eligible. And if they have any dependents, any children who are citizens or anybody in the household or citizens, they are indeed eligible as well. You can reach me at marys@camba.org. I will put it in the chat. If anyone has or knows anyone who would like assistance applying for SNAP benefits, they can reach me via email. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Kalias Zhang from Grow NYC.
Hi. Good evening and happy holidays, everyone. My name is Kalias. I use they, them pronouns. I am one of the 4 Stop and Swap coordinators in the Zero Waste programs at the environmental nonprofit Grow NYC. Thank you, Anita, for giving us a shout out earlier. I work with my co-coordinator, Zara, who unfortunately couldn't join the meeting tonight, to cover 29 districts in East Queens, Staten Island, and Brooklyn, which includes you all in Brooklyn District 14, which happens to be my native district. I'm very, very excited to announce that Stop and Swap has partnered with PS 139 Election 8 Fenty on Rugby Road to bring a free one-day community reuse event to Flatbush. During the event, the public is invited to bring clean, reusable, portable items such as clothing, housework, games, books, and toys, and take items for free. People do not have to bring something to take something. The event will take place on Sunday, May 1st from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. We will be inside their outdoor courtyard. The entrance will be on Argyle Road between Beverly and Cortelyou. Happening on the same day will be our regular weekly green market and compost food scrap drop-off site. For those who are unfamiliar, Grow NYC is an established environmental nonprofit with over 50 years of activity in New York City. Our goal is to empower and improve the lives of New Yorkers through local sustainable change. As an organization, we have programs that work to increase conservation, education, food access, and green space, which you can learn more about at grownyc.org. Stop and Swap are free community reuse events run by Grow NYC Zero Waste Programs, which is funded by the New York City Department of Sanitation. My team is tasked with the ambitious goal of completing one event in each of the 59 districts by June 30th. Please check out our Stop and Swap page for more information. The future of our program, Grow NYC's food scrap drop-off sites, zero waste educational programs, and Stop and Swap is currently being negotiated in the upcoming city budget, and I strongly encourage you to sign a petition to keep these programs running in your district. I've dropped relevant information in the chat as well as my contact information. Flyers have not been generated since we're waiting on a few translations, but they will be sent to the board as soon as possible for distribution. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Do we have Brianna Solon from Impact NYC? Brianna may have jumped off. Our final registered speaker this evening is Ellie Slavin from Congress member Yvette Clark's office. Go ahead, Ellie.
Good evening, everybody, and let me also add my voice to welcoming our new Deputy Inspector Soprano. Good luck, Godspeed, and you keep us safe. We owe you a debt of gratitude for your service. I'm just going to give us our website. There's a lot of things that can't pronounce it. The what's it called? The I'm sorry. The omnibus money that was just passed last month in Congress, billions of dollars. 18 million came into our district, and just to address the safety group, 3 million was allocated for gun safety. So our website is Clark with the E at the CLARKE.house.gov. There's a lot of information on the website. You can contact us through the website. We are open for business. We're working partly remotely. So our office is very busy with federal issues, immigration, now with what's going on in Haiti, what's going on in Ukraine. So we are quite busy with trying to assist members and family members who do have relatives in that part of the world. And all we can do is wish them safety and Godspeed. I also want to take this opportunity to wish we're a very diverse district. So happy Ramadan, happy Easter, and of course, happy Passover. And thank you for your time.
Thank you so very much. That concludes the public portion of this meeting. Before we adjourn, I just want to give a quick thanks to Captain Kristen Suarez, who in between transition between the first commanding officer and our current commanding officer, acted as acting commanding officer for the 17th precinct. I want to thank her so much for her leadership and all that she did during that time. Really appreciate it. So that being said, do I have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Thanks, Anya. Patricia, thank you so much for all of your work, especially with the
second it.
conference. Thank you. Okay, we are adjourned at 8:37 p.m. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Happy holidays, everyone.
Yes. Happy holidays.